Hello everyone, thanks for joining with Magic with Class. Today I'm going to do a product review because I just got these two items in the mail and I don't think I've talked about them yet. They're both the Zendikar Rising Commander decks. So first is the Sneak Attack deck. I'm gonna put it up close so you can see the legendary creature. I'm not even gonna do. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to switch. And here's the back. Yo, we got the game the same day, right? So this is a blue-black commander deck, and I actually got it for less than retail. It retails for about $20, and I got both of them. Here's the other one. There's the front. Let me see if I can get a good view for you of the commander.
Oh, I know why. Because guess what?
And here's the back.
You was living in the D territory when I was at A plus, getting 1,000 VC. You was getting like 200. Your shitty ass. Look at that.
So I got both of these for about $35 with free shipping, which I think is an incredible deal. So the packaging for these commander decks are actually smaller than the ones from previous years. I think that's part of the reason why they were able to lower the price, because shipping the original commander decks with the bulky packaging is actually much more expensive than shipping two items like this, right? So I'm actually not going to open them today. Instead, I'm going to be uploading a video in the future where I do open them and I play against someone so that you can see how the decks play against each other, and maybe I can judge a little better if these decks are balanced. A lot of people are saying that the Sneak Attack is the much better deck. Someone actually just mentioned that they're going to use the cards in the Sneak Attack deck to build another deck. It's a very good deck to get certain singles at a very low price. And I would have to say I agree. That's not to say that the Lands Wrath deck is that much worse. But I think Rogues are just very popular right now because they're actually doing very well in Standard. And I've noticed that the price of certain tribal cards for Rogues have gone up. So I'll be keeping an eye out to see if these cards either go up or go down in value. I still think the cards are overall in the two decks are going to go down in value, but you never know. The major difference between the Zendikar Rising Commander decks and the previous Commander decks from a content standpoint is that they only contain, I think, 3 new cards, one being the legendary creature. So instead of getting 3 legendary creatures in that can be used as the deck's commander, that you can interchange them, in this deck, in these two decks, there's only 1 legendary creature per deck, which is okay. Obviously, there's still other legendary creatures in the deck, but there are not 3 new legendary creatures like there usually are. There's just the 1. And honestly, I think that's fine. That's fair. I think I would trade the I think the lesser price definitely compensates for the fact that you're getting less new cards. You're still getting a 100 card deck. So you're not getting cheated out of any cards. It's not like they're giving you a 60 card deck and calling it a commander deck and telling you, hey, add 40 cards to the deck, and then you have a functioning commander deck. I hope that they continue this trend in the future. I know that Commander Legends is going to have a product just like these two. There's going to be 2 commander decks associated with Commander Legends, and they haven't revealed much information about that. They haven't shown the packaging, they haven't shown the legendary creatures for those decks, but I would have to assume that they are going to be in the same exact vein as the Zendikar Rising ones, and I look forward to picking those up. Since I got these for about $36, that is an incredible deal. So I would recommend to anyone looking to get into Commander or get into Magic in general, these are probably your best bet. And these kind of replace the Planeswalker decks that they were doing. Those decks were more of an entry point into Standard than Commander, but I think with the huge increase of interest in the Commander format, I think it's a good choice for them to try to get people interested in that format. Since, at least for me, it's the format that most of the people in my play group play exclusively. So, if you're getting into Magic the Gathering and you come with a 60 card deck, a lot of people are going to say, "Well, we don't play standard. We don't play with 60 card decks." So I think this was a very good idea. Like I said, they replaced the Planeswalker decks, which came with, instead of a legendary creature, it came with a Planeswalker. The decks were not particularly good in terms of, I guess, value or in terms of what cards were in the deck, but they were good to teach newer players how to actually play the game. And they also used to come with 2 booster packs. They actually lowered it to 1 booster pack. And I think they lowered the price too. So we'll see if they make Planeswalker decks in the future. We'll see if they'll stick with the Commander decks for future releases. And we'll see how this impacts the release of the Commander decks, the once a year that they release, the 4 or the 5 Commander decks. We'll see if these Commander decks influence that at all. Maybe they'll release just 2. Maybe they'll still release 4 or 5. We'll have to see. However, the point of this video is actually not to talk about Commander, not to talk about anything that I purchased. It's actually to talk about the list. So what exactly is the list? The list is a collection of 300 cards pulled from anywhere in Magic's history. And it appears only in the Zendikar set boosters. It does not appear in the draft boosters. It only appears in the set boosters. So these cards are in their old borders and their old frames. They are exactly how they appeared in the printing that they're taking from. This doesn't mean that it's going to be the original printing of the card. Some of the list cards were promo cards or were showcase cards. So you're not always going to get the original versions of the card, the first printing. But even if you do get like an original first printing, there is a way to tell the difference. And I think I've said this before. There's a little Planeswalker symbol at the very bottom left of the card that will differentiate it from its original printings or other printings. So you always know you're getting a list card if it has that little Planeswalker symbol on the bottom left of the card. So, one thing that I found intriguing when I was like doing research for the list and seeing like exactly what card appears on the list is that there seemed to be a misprint with 6 of the white cards on the list. 6 of the white cards are actually not in their original borders because the white mana symbol on 6 of these cards is incorrect. It's a mana symbol that has not been used in the game, either at the beginning of the game or currently. It's just a brand new symbol. And I don't exactly know why they did it. I'm reading that it's that these are just misprints. It's misprinted. However, if you know something I don't, if you have another explanation for why these cards were printed the way they were, please let me know in the comments or shoot me a direct message. I do think it's strange. I think it's possible that what they're doing is actually testing to see the popularity maybe of this new symbol, so that maybe they can change the white mana symbol in future sets. Maybe this is like some sort of weird trial that they're doing to see if people notice or people like this new symbol. And this is not the first time they've actually changed the white mana symbol. So I am curious about that. So now actually on to the cards that appear in the list. So there are common cards, uncommon cards, rares, and mythic rares. And one card will appear from the list every 1 in 4 chance. So when you open a set booster, you have a 25% chance of getting one of these cards on the list. But the list cards appear in whatever rarity they are on the list. So if the card is so you're way more likely to get a common card from the list than you are to get a mythic or a rare card from the list. So some of these cards are actually very, very rare and do not appear frequently at all. I've been actually seeing though many channels open set boosters. They seem to be very, very popular, way more popular than the draft boosters. A lot of people are saying that the draft boosters will eventually be phased out because it's just the set boosters are doing so well. And I wouldn't buy a draft booster at this point in time. I mean, box, booster or box. I wouldn't buy a draft booster or box. I would much rather get a set booster or box. The price difference is worth it for what you get. Um, just my thoughts. So the list cards, I actually don't think they are particularly good. Now the list cards are going to stay basically intact from set to set. So we're going to see these set list cards again in future sets, and they're actually going to very subtly change. They're not going to change too many all at once, but they're going to change a few, I guess, to fit the needs of the set. If I was doing a list, I would make it unique to every set. So Zendikar Rising is a set based on lands, set on Zendikar. There have been many sets set on Zendikar. So if I was comprising a list of cards for this list, I would have chosen a number of cards from Zendikar, original Zendikar, and the Return Battle for Zendikar on this. Now, of course, they do have some cards from original Zendikar and Battle for Zendikar in those sets, but I would have put maybe, probably over half, 150 cards from those sets, and maybe I would have filled out the rest of the list with cards that support the theme of Zendikar Rising. So Zendikar Rising has, as all Zendikar sets do, a land theme. So even if I wasn't choosing cards specifically from older Zendikar sets, I would choose cards that work well with lands, right? There's also the party mechanic in Zendikar Rising. So I probably would have looked at those 4 creature types for the party mechanic and put a bunch of those cards in the set. And for maybe Kaldheim, for instance, we don't exactly know what Kaldheim's themes are going to be. However, I expect that snow may play a part in that set. So if I was comprising the list for Kaldheim, I would probably put in a lot of cards that care about snow or snow permanents. Dwarves are also going to probably be in this Kaldheim set, so I would probably also put some dwarf cards on the list for Kaldheim. Basically, I would do things differently from how Wizards is doing it right now. They generated a list, and they're going to change very few cards in between sets. I would change all the cards, almost every card, each set. Maybe I would put 10 or 20 just high value, highly sought after reprints in the set and just let it carry on from set to set. But mostly I would look for cards that fit the themes of the set. So I've been looking at the values of the cards on the list, and I'm actually surprised that they didn't pick some higher value cards. According to what I'm looking at in a few websites, one of the most expensive cards is Scroll Rack, which I think is a good inclusion on the list, and I would probably include it as well on the list. But they also have Cruel Tutor on the list, which also just got reprinted in the latest core set. So I'm not sure if I would have put, I probably would, because it's just a high value card, hadn't seen too many reprints, and it was just getting very, very expensive. not only because of its value as a game piece, but simply because of its limited printings. I'm also seeing that Food Chain was reprinted into the list. Another very, very good choice. Brendan 6 is another expensive card that just got reprinted onto the list. And I kind of don't agree with that one because Renin 6 was just printed in Modern Horizons. I think there was a better. I think they should, when they do the list, if they're gonna reprint higher value cards, it should be cards that are older, because I think Renin 6 is an easier card to obtain, even if it's more expensive or equally expensive than a card like Food Chain and Cruel Tutor. I just think there are more Renin 6s out there than they are Scroll Racks or Food Chains. I'm also seeing Thrumming Stone, which is an expensive card they put in the list. I remember when this card was bulk. There was a point where Thrumming Stone, just a few years ago, was worth close to nothing. And then they released a bunch of cards in Commander that worked with Thrumming Stone. Because in Commander, the rule that you can only play one of each card gets broken if the card specifically says that you can run any number in your deck, or that you can run a specific number in your deck. Yeah, that overrules the Commander rules of one card per deck. So Thrumming Stone is actually excellent in like one or two very, very specific Commander decks, including the Mill one with, I think his name is Bruvac, which came in Jumpstart. I think that's one of the reasons why Thrumming Stone is still in everyone's mind right now. But it also works, of course, with Shadowborn Apostle, which was originally the reason why Thrumming Stone went up in price. But I remember having so many copies of Thrumming Stone and thinking, wow, like this card is garbage. Like this card can't see play in Commander, because Commander is a format that's strict to one card per deck. And it's too expensive. What does it cost? Five mana? It's too expensive. Yeah, 5. It's too expensive to see play in other formats. Another good reprint, this one I very much do agree with, is Training Grounds from original Zendikar, or one of the original Zendikar sets. Now this, while it doesn't fit the themes of Zendikar Rising or really any of the Zendikar sets, I guess it worked with Level Up. It's still a highly needed card, very playable in Commander, and it's just ridiculously overpriced right now. So I'm glad they put it on the list. I hope it gets reprinted maybe in Modern Horizons too. Some other more expensive cards that I'm seeing on the list: Chroma's Memorial, Enlightened Tutor, Pact of Negation, Land Tax. Land Tax has been reprinted a few times now, with new art, and still it's very expensive. And the copy that is in the list is not the original art from the original printing. I believe it's I'm checking it right now. It's the Battle Bond newer art that's on the list. So that's an interesting choice, right? Why not use the older art? Land Tax was reprinted in a new art, just a few years ago. Why not focus on the old borders, which many of the list are unique, interesting borders, which many cards on the list actually do. We also have Vesuva. Vesuva is an excellent land for Commander and for older formats as well. So that was definitely in need of a reprint. And then after that, there are some fairly good cards that are worth, around $20 or more. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, is another card that works perfectly with the Zendikar Rising list. But I actually expected more. I think they can put a couple more cards onto the list that are higher value, especially in the rare and mythic rare slot, considering how unlikely it is to get one of these cards no matter how many packs you open. If you're only getting a list card 25% of the time, and you're only getting a mythic rare 1/8 of the time, just think of the probability that you would get a mythic rare list card in any set. It's ridiculously low. So, if they put Jace the Mind Sculptor or some other, which was in World Wake, right? or Stoneforge Mystic, which I don't think is on here, then not only would that be a cool callback to the original Zendikar sets, but it would also increase the value overall of the list cards. So I guess this is one of the first time they're doing these lists. So maybe they're erring on the side of caution, and since they did give themselves the opportunity to change it, maybe they will add more higher value cards as time goes on. What I hope they don't do is remove them. So thanks for joining me. Please join for future videos where maybe I'm going to open the Zendikar Rising Commander decks and play them against each other. But this is Magic with Class, always reminding you to gather with class. Thanks, everyone.